Welcome to Shape Philadelphia's third episode of our virtual survival kit series. This one is titled Hybrid Style. Please follow us on social media. You can check our handle Shape Philly. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel. And today, I would like to introduce to you our presenters, which you can find out when they're speaking in the comment section and the information section below. So for this, we have Alenna Condran, who was a three-time Shape PA conference presenter. We have Mark Friedrich, who's part of Shape NJ or NJ Aford. He was a 2016 Secondary PE Teacher of the Year. And some of you may know him as the Adventure Ed guy. We have Todd Bedard, a Health and Phys Ed Department Chair for Cumberland Valley School District in Central Pennsylvania. We also have Chris Jackson, who was a 2018 Shape Elementary Physical Education Teacher of the Year, and Shappell, who was a 2021 Shape America Eastern District Middle School Teacher of the Year. So I hope you can find something to take away from this. We tried to put this together, and we want to thank all of our participants as well as the presenters for taking the time to engage with this. Philadelphia is currently moving towards a hybrid model. So these are some people that have had experience with that, and we hope you can find some use out of this presentation. Thank you for taking the time to view this. And once again, thank you to the presenters for taking time out of their schedule to help us out. Hope you enjoy.
Activity or do the game, and then I didn't leave enough time at the end of my lesson. So one thing I've learned is to cut things down and try not to do as much stuff. Try to do one warm-up activity, one learning thing, one video, whatever it is that you might then talk about for 2 or 3 minutes, a health concept, and then go into your game and have that all set up, pre-recorded, a video, whatever it is, a YouTube link, however you're going to set it up. I'm sure most of you are already pretty good at doing that because you were already doing you were doing full hybrid, full online as it were. Full asynchronous is just not the same. We tried that where I had half the kids live with me and half the kids were at home, and we did it was set up asynchronous lessons. When we looked at the feedback from the forms of the kids who were supposed to go on doing the asynchronous lesson without any teacher contact, we found that the kids and the families just were choosing not to do them. They were just skipping them and not doing them. So we were putting a ton of work into asynchronous lessons with videos and instructions and directions, and the kids were just not doing them. The YouTube video links and the hits and everything were maybe 5 or 2 out of a class of say 12, 15, 18, whatever it is. So the asynchronous for us, for me, I just felt like it didn't work. And I think that you're going to lose kids if you try that. If you are good at it, let me know. If you're getting good success with asynchronous, I'd love to know what you've done to make it better, so maybe I can make it better. Because a lot of times families, I think, well, like, oh, it's just PE, we'll put that off. It's just gym class, we'll do that later, whatever it is. But they just don't. They won't do it later. Or their families then decide what they'll do is they'll substitute an activity that they're going to do. Oh, we'll walk the dog, that counts. So yeah. And then again, that comes to expectations. Is that okay for you for that, or is it not okay? I think it's okay maybe for the families to go for a bike ride, or to go and take the dog for a walk, or go for a hike, or something that they do together. Is that okay? Sure, I think it's okay, but you have to determine what it is you're trying to get out of it. And also, do you have a health concept that the kids that you want them to understand and learn? And then the big one for me is have fun, make them laugh, and laugh at yourself, especially when it all goes wrong. And try to make jokes and do stupid stuff, and sing and make noises, and yeah, just all that. And especially with the little kids, they love it. This is a big one that I put on. I'll put this on as soon as we get going, and it works really good. I put the music, I build music into the slides. You can hear the music coming in right there. And then what I'll do What I'll do with that is then the kids in the school are doing those, and then the kids at home are doing them. And then we can also highlight kids at home doing those different activities. I'm going to stop for a minute. Has anyone got any questions about the first few things that I talked about? Does everything make sense so far? Give me a thumbs up. Am I heading in the right direction for you? Give me 2 thumbs up. Is this what you want to hear? Give me 3 thumbs up. Okay, cool. I'll carry on then. If I'm not telling you what you don't want to hear, then tell me to stop. Say, hey, Chris, this is rubbish. Do something else, will you, pal? And I will. It's not a problem. Okay, so they're the GIFs. Originally, these GIFs were all other people doing them, and then my tech integrator and I, we were like, hey, let's do these. So we did we do them ourselves. So those are some ones. But I really like putting the music, building it into the slide. That way you can pipe it right into its home on their iPad. And then you can mute it, or you can talk through the slide. You can go over the activity as you're doing it, or you can mute yourself, or you can give yourself a little break and do it, and just have the kids do it by themselves. But usually with it being hybrid, we're doing this at exactly the same time as the kids are at home. And that's what's really nice. And now the kids at home feel included. And sometimes I'll put them up on the screen. Instead of this slide, I'll try to put both of them up there so that the kids in class can see the kids at home doing it. So that's pretty cool. Then we'll take our pulse. This is a pretty cool slide. You ever done these 6-second pulse counts? So we'll pull that up. We'll have the kids do the 6-second pulse count. You've not got any fancy heart rate technology. Best way to do it, get the 2 fingers, count for 6 seconds. You getting your heart rate up over 100, over 120 beats a minute. Here's a great one. This is something that you can do at home and at school right at the same time. So you set it up, and then you go over the exercises first. So I'll bring myself on the screen. I'll take this down, and then we'll go over the moves on the left side. Okay, this is how you do a burpee. Let's all do 2 burpees, everyone. So we do a burpee. This is how you do a squat. We'll do a couple squats, couple push-ups each, and we'll just go through each of the moves. Now, number 7 is a box jump, and we don't have box jumps. We don't have any boxes set up at home. Maybe you do, but you don't want them probably jumping on chairs. Maybe you could use some stairs, but I just show them how modifications. And is it okay to modify activities? Yeah, it's great. Do it however it works. If you don't have something, or you need something different, do it in a different way or change it. So then I just put the, then you've got the Tabata workout right there. You can run the video. The kids in class are doing it. I'm going around helping the kids out in class with their form and with their technique and making sure they're doing things right. And then the kids at home, they are hopefully coming along with you at the same time. And then that just runs its well through. Simple activity right there, boom.
I have a question.
Yep.
About what you said, Chris.
Yep.
You said hopefully they're doing it at home. Do you monitor that at all?
No.
Whether they're actually doing it?
No.
Okay.
I have 14 to 25 kids in my class that I have to take care of, and their safety is my number 1 concern. The child at home is at home. You have control over what you have control over, and your control is your classroom, and you have to make sure those kids are safe. So I can't worry about the kids at home. If the kid wants to turn the camera off and they're not going to participate, I mean, that's up to them and their families, right? The kids at school are I can take care of, and I can work with those kids.
Okay.
Is that wrong to say what I said? Make sense?
Yeah, for me, I'm adjusting my expectations
Yeah, that was the big one.
Each time I'm like, maybe I just can't monitor this. I mean, that's the realization I came to today. I was like, you know what?
No.
I can't.
No, you can't. You'll drive yourself absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
You feel like a chicken with your head cut off. It's not worth it.
Yeah. I think and to piggyback on that, I think it's what works for you in your environment and how you know your kids. You know the kids are going to be doing the work, and then some kids are not. But as you said, Chris, I'm just experiencing over the last couple of weeks, having kids in there and then trying to maneuver doing both. But I don't have, like, my largest group was an AS class with 7 kids, but yet I have them all in class, which is nice. So I don't have to worry about the kids at home at that point in time. But whatever works, and they love it. But it's just the spatial awareness and keeping them, safe distance apart, keeping your mask on, and things along those lines that we're, struggling with.
I just have a quick question. So I agree with the monitoring, like let the families worry about what they're worrying about at home. But do you grade the students at home?
No. Grading's a mess, period. Wow. I mean, you're just going to pull your hair out. Is there
It's
any?
a wonder I have any left. Yep.
Don't try. I'm going to go back already here. Right here. Yeah, I need to go back, don't we? Right here. Boom. Right? Does that help, Amy? Does that help, Beth? Lower your expectations, number 4. Anything is better than nothing. If you get more done, it's a bonus. It won't be the same. It just won't. Don't try to make it the same.
I know my admin was wanting me to do the same lesson, just modify it for the at-home kids.
You can
But
if you're a math teacher, you can if you're a music teacher, you can if you're an art teacher, you can if you're any other teacher, in my opinion, except physical education.
To a point. It's like I can do it to a point.
Right. All right, let me
But I
get
can even have
this
them do a skill and then
let me get to this. Let me get to this. Hold on. So that's my warm up. I try to do some kind of warm up. Everyone's together, right? So think of through the lesson, right? We're doing a warm up. We're doing something together. We talk about heart rate or something like that. Then you go into a fitness, a health. This is like something I might have up. This is the watts. You can see there the 5 standards on down there in the bottom left corner. Okay. And then there's the warm up slide, right? We might do a plank challenge. I have these plank challenges there, pretty cool. You can do those with the kids at home and at school. There's a check for understanding slide. You can go through and click that. Okay, then right here, this is where you could do like a you pick. Okay, so you could do hey kids, you guys at home, you're not going to be able to do this workout. Let's say it's something else in class today, but you're going to go right ahead and pick one of these ones right here. Okay, you're going to pick one of those and I'll see you right back here in 5 minutes. Make sense? So now you do a workout or an activity in school, then the kids at home pick one of those and do one of those. Hopefully it's one they've already done, because the problem is if they go watching all the videos, then it takes too long. And by the time they watch their videos, they've done no activity and that defeats the purpose. Make sense? So that you've got to set those up right as well. So you try to do ones that you've done before. Okay. So this is a really good one right here, right? This is one you could easily do at home and in class at the same time. So if you show the kids the video, this is the game. Okay, you would show the kids the video. You could even do a flip lesson. Hey kids, watch this video before you come to class today, right? And then in this one, you do it and you do a 1-minute challenge. Okay, you'd have to go to the video, watch the video, and then you'd understand that slide. But that could be a game that then the kids could do at home, and then you could do it in class both at the same time. That makes sense, Amy? Or the other thing is you do a game at school, right? For the kids at school, and you treat it as a 2-week lesson. So you do the same lesson for 2 weeks. And then at home, you give them a completely different thing to do as their at home activity. Everything at the start of the lesson is exactly the same for 2 weeks. The end half of the lesson is different for the at home kids compared to the kids that are with you in school. Right? So this is where you might have this slide. You might have this is what we're going to, okay, kids in school, we're going to go do this now. And you don't have a slide for that because it's a game you're going to play in school or an activity you're going to do in school. Make sense? Where you're going to send the kids off at home. All right, kids, you guys are going to go and choose one of these. It's one they've done already before, right? And then they can go ahead and go pick one of those activities to do at home. And you might have pre-recorded those videos and put them up there. There might just be 2 choices, or it might be just one thing. You're going to do this one activity at home. Make sense?
How do they access those videos?
So you can put, you would give them, we do it through Blackboard, so I can give them this, I give them the the presentation. I shoot them the link. They can go right into my Blackboard. They hit on the link and they can look at this presentation live. They're not seeing a screen version of it. They can look at it live and then they can click on all the links. Or you just fire the YouTube video link or whatever it is of the game in the chat. And then they click on it and then they go to it and then they go do it. And then you say, okay, kids, with 15 minutes left, you say, all right, kids, it's time to go now. I'll see you guys next week and we'll play the in-school game next week. You guys, you're going to go home and you're going to go play that game at home now. Have fun doing it. Tell me all about it when you come to school, what you liked about it the best or whatever, so on and so forth. These are all different activities and games that you can do beforehand and afterhand. I show kids, I'll show the kids a learning activity. This might be a learning activity we might do. So this is something you can easily do for the kids both in school and at school, at home at exactly the same time. I just project it up on my big projector on my screen, and then the kids at home are watching this at the same time. And I'm going to stop now because otherwise I'm going to keep going and it'll be too long and Alenna won't get a chance to go. But what I'm going to do, right, is I have this presentation for you, okay, with all these slides in it that you can see, all these different kind of ideas and activities. This one's got my contact information on it. It's got my website. This is like, hey, go do this after class today. Here's a cool down slide, so on and so forth. So I'm going to send you this link into the chat and then you can go on and make a copy of it yourself if you want to steal any of it, okay?
Thank you.
Anyone got any questions? We'll save questions till the end because Alenna needs to go. All right, thanks for listening. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Thank you very much. Very
You're
informative.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the link's in the chat. All you, Alenna.
I was
You're
muted. Oh
yeah,
my
I was just
God.
gonna.
That is such a rookie mistake. Can you see my screen? That was so I'm gonna teach you how to teach online when I can't even unmute myself. All right, so I'm Alenna Condran, and like I said, I teach at Mechanicsburg Area School District. It's my 13th year teaching in general, but my 5th year there. And that was awesome, Chris. I'm gonna try to follow in your steps. We'll see how I do. So my schedule is a little different. I don't teach kids while they're at home and in school at the same exact time, but I do have to post Google Classroom lessons on Google Classroom while I also have in-person students. So if you see here, I have group A's in person and then group B's at home, and they're in school in person 2 days a week and they're remote 3 days a week. So throughout the week, I teach every student once a week, which is nice. And I teach the same lesson 25 times a week, which is kind of crazy. But by the end, I'm really good at the lesson. So the hardest part initially was trying to keep track, like Amy was mentioning, like, how do you grade? How do you track it? How do you do it all? You can't do it all. Just like Chris is saying, you just can't. And I know as teachers, we want to do it all. And we don't want to say we can't do something, but it's just the fact of life in this situation. So my biggest advice is, I like this quote a lot. You just have to take it a little bit at a time, because the hardest part is when I'm teaching in person, I come back to my computer and I have all these messages from students and all these assignments turned in, and now I have to grade them. So I would spend my lunch and my prep grading and responding, and then I wouldn't get anything done that I'm supposed to do for the in-person. So it was like so much work. I felt like I had 2 full-time jobs. So I just had to like sit back and be like, what is the most important right now? What can wait? I have 3 weeks to figure this out until my next assignment's due. So just kind of breathe. So that would be my biggest advice, is just one thing at a time. Don't try to do it all. Just focus on one thing and then accomplish that and then do the next. So my other advice is be creative with equipment and activities, especially for the kids at home. They don't have a lot, some of them at home. If they have socks, so sock ball is a big one. The crumpled paper is a big one, but like you can't rely on everyone having a jump rope or everyone even having steps in their house. So you just have to modify every activity as best you can. Give a lot of student choice. I'm going to show you some student choice boards. I've noticed a big increase in participation when I tell them, instead of saying do this, then this, and this, I say, which of these things do you want to do? Choose what you want to do. And then of course, just give grace to your students and yourself. It's hard for us all, but we're all making it work. And Chris's advice of just laughing about things is perfect. Sometimes it's like, what just happened? I'm so sorry. Like, I wasn't supposed to do that just now. So just kind of go with the flow and just give yourself some grace, because none of us knew this was going to happen, but we're all just doing our best. So here's how I'm making it work. I'm just going to share some activities that I've done. You might have seen this in Among Us instant activity. This is good if you have kids at home and in person at the same time, or just in person. They can choose when we stop this generator. There you go. And then whatever it matches with, then you start the timer and they do it for that amount of time. So you can call on students when they're zooming in, or you can call on students in person, and then they all have a choice of when to start and stop. Another one I like is this emoji, maybe. I'm really good with computers here. Click, there we go. So this emoji one, it's pretty much the same thing, except there's this generator for the faces and there's also one for the dice. So instead of doing it for a certain amount of time, then they can just start and stop the virtual dice. And then they do it for that many repetitions. Or as you see here, roll for reps or seconds. You can multiply by 5, whatever works best for your kids. But again, this works if they're at home or if they're in person. So just some quick warm-up things. This one's really fun. Press your luck. I break up my class into 2 groups, 2 teams, and the same kind of thing. They get to choose when it starts and stops, and then depending on what you land on, everyone does the exercise it lands on, and then whoever chose it gets those points. And if you get a whammy, you lose all your points, and it's really exciting. They build up their points and they work together, and then they get a whammy, and it's really sad, but it's fun. So that's another good one. I will also be sharing this with you, so you can use it if you'd like. These I found are very successful, the Beat the Teacher challenges. So I'm not going to show you the presentations, but if you click on these, it'll take you to the other presentations. So can you beat the teacher? The first one, it has me doing the challenges and it has my score, and then they try to beat that score. The second one, my husband made it. He's the tech guru of the family, but we work together to make gifts of all of these challenges. So again, student choice. You can say, whoever's in person or on Zoom, which one do you want to try to beat me at? And we will do that one. The equipment needed is right there. So for your Zoom kids, you can put that up there. For your in-person kids, you can provide this equipment if you're allowed to use equipment. So it doesn't have to be a sock ball in person. It can just be a regular ball or cups. You can use any type of equipment for any of this. Grocery bag can be a scarf or anything else. I know we have to be really creative with equipment, with sanitizing. I'm like, I can't use that, but what else can I use? I saw a really creative idea. If you're using bean bags, you can put them in a Ziploc bag so then you can sanitize them, because bean bags, you're told not to sanitize those because they get funky. But if you put them in Ziploc bags, then you can sanitize easily. So I thought that was a cool hack also. So the important thing is just make sure that the kids at home have the equipment and it's not crazy stuff that they wouldn't have. Like they all have socks, they all have cups in their kitchen, hopefully. They all probably have a grocery bag and a pillow. So adapt it for at home, but also in person. So this is one of the choice boards I was telling you about. I post this in Google Classroom for the remote lesson, but again, you could use this as your live lesson, no problem at all. So if if they see this, this is our fitness unit. So all they'd have to do is click on one of the things and it would take you to the activity. It's the stuffed animal fitness challenge, but at school you can use anything. Again, a ball, a noodle, a large paper ball if you can't use actual equipment, but just make it work either way. Another choice board is, whoops, my clicking, there we go. Another choice board I did was throwing games. So if I'm doing my throwing unit in class, in person, I relate that to the Zoom activity. So I always make sure that it's in the same unit. I don't just want to post some random thing on Zoom for kids to do if it has nothing to do with what we're learning in person. So these were 4 videos that my son and I made in the spring. And they're, again, just different activities that kids can do at home or in school. So the make it, take it, for example. It says can be played inside or outside at home. But if you're doing this at school, like Chris said, tell the kids what they need for this activity if they're at home, and then set it up for the kids in person. And you can time them. It's a timed activity. So you can do it at the same time, and kids at home and kids at school, and then you can reflect on it as a whole class. So everybody can do it. Same thing with bocce. You can do it at home, you can do it at school. These 2 are Stairway to Fitness, but you don't necessarily need stairs to do it. And I put that asterisk there. So in these videos, it tells you this is how you do it without stairs. So just, again, try to be creative. A unit that I've loved this year is it's great for social distancing, and it's really fun. It's great for creativity. Kids get moving, they get excited, is the rhythm unit. So we were learning dance in class, and I have 3 dance activities, and then the bottom is 3 drumming activities. And the Beat Saber drumming was a huge hit. Guitar Hero drumming was a huge hit too. So if kids don't feel comfortable dancing, that's where I threw in the Fortnite dance in there. But if they don't feel comfortable with the dance part, they still are learning rhythm, tempo, and beat. They're still learning how to keep the 8 count with any of these activities. So that student choice is really important, and especially in these like rhythm unit. Something I did in person that would work really well, again, in person or Zoom. This turned out to be one of my favorite lessons this year so far. I got the idea from a presentation from Melanie Levenberg. She did a presentation for the EPEW workshop through California over the summer. And these are all the steps, the dance steps, but where you see the highlighted student superhero part, that's where kids get to create any 32 count dance they want. And I'll show you on the next slide. So they're gonna do it 3 different times throughout the dance. And this is how they did it. So they chose any superhero they wanted. Again, kids at home can choose any superhero. Kids at school can choose any superhero. Think about the physical skills your superhero can do, personal qualities, and then come up with 8 counts for a jumping move about your superhero, a reaching move, a spin, and a low move. So I had them like Deadpool whipping out the weapons, and Spidey was shooting his web, and it was really cool. So then for that part, we would perform this whole dance together, but they would all be doing something different for that superhero part. And then we'd bring it back in, and then they'd all do their superhero part. So kids at home can work on their own to do it, or you could do breakout rooms if you trust that happening with elementary. And in person, they work really well together. Even the boys, I know it's stereotypical, but the boys are always a little hesitant about the rhythm and dance, but they did so awesome with this. It was really one of my favorite lessons. So I thought that was a unique way that kids can do it at home or at school. I also teach health class, so I just thought I'd throw in this health idea, this health lesson. And even if you don't teach health, you can still put it into your phys ed curriculum. But I had a presentation or a lesson, and again, you'll have access to it. If you click on me eating an apple, you'll get the lesson. And then if you click on the fork and the knife, then you'll get the assignment. And they had to write a story about their favorite food traveling through each part of digestion. And I said you could do Google Slides, or you could just do simple paper and marker and pencil. And again, at home, they should have at least paper and a pencil at home. At school, they may or may not have access to computers. I don't know, it depends on your district. I think everyone probably does at this point. But it gives them that student choice again. You can do it Google Slides if you're good at that. You can do it paper and pencil. You can record yourself reading your story, so it has that reading part into it. So this was a really cool assignment also. And I also like the mindful minute. I like to incorporate this as much as I can. So I like this donut because everyone's mesmerized by the donut. So as much as you can, I think especially this year, mindfulness is really important. And when I did a mindfulness lesson, so many kids said this was so helpful for me. This was really good for me to wind down whenever I felt anxious about something. So I think the more we can incorporate mindfulness, even just for a minute, the mindful minute, I think that's really beneficial for our students. And then again, going back to Amy saying, how do you hold them accountable? Do you grade? What do you do? I do grade. And so I have accountability with Google Forms. So at the end of each of my lessons, there's a link for a reflection. And by this point, they know to earn a grade for this, I have to click on that Google form, and it's a simple 4 questions. I think this one's maybe 4, yeah. So I always ask their first and last name, their homeroom teacher, and then questions about the lesson. Which ones did you do? Which one was your favorite? Why was it your favorite? Who'd you do it with, kind of thing. And that way I know what they actually did. And I always have an optional, is there anything else you want to share with Mrs. Condran? And I love this one because sometimes they'll tell me, like this one kid told me the name of every stuffed animal he owns. It wasn't beneficial, but he was happy to tell me. But some are just like, this was so fun. Thank you for doing this. I love these activities. So just making them feel like, oh, she's actually listening. And then when I reply to their Google form and I like the accountability part, I grade them, but I also add a, hey, thanks for saying this, or I'm glad I know all your stuffed animal names now. And this is really important for my sanity. I make sure I sort the homeroom teacher name column A to Z, alphabetical order, and that way I can just see every student in that one class who did it, and I can give them a grade. Instead of, if you see in this first part, all the teachers are all jumbled, so I'd have to go back and forth to each roster. So once I discovered this, I don't even remember how I discovered it, it was a game changer. So if you're using Google Forms, it's super simple. I would just recommend making sure that you have homeroom teacher sorted that way. And I will give you this link. You can copy it, or I'll also put it in the chat. That was a little fast. Sorry, I talked a little fast. Does anyone have any questions about anything I said or did or anything at all?
I love that Stairway to Fitness game.
It's so fun. Yeah, we did.
I thought of a new version of it, Alenna. You know, on the back of the cards that you put on the steps?
Yeah.
Put exercises.
Oh, yeah.
So when they run up, if they grab 5, if the sock ball lands on 5, they run up, they grab 5, they come down. And now it says on the back of it, jumping jacks, you have to do 5 jumping jacks or 5, whatever it is. And every card's a bit different.
Yeah, that could be 3.0.
That would be version 3.0.
Right, yeah.
I want to do that. I've been thinking about recording it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I love that one. And the kids.
It's a really good one.
I just posted that recently, and the kids, they've all said the Stairway to Fitness was so fun. I love that.
A lot of my kids have played that one. Yeah. It's
good.
I also posted
sorry,
my
Chris.
website in my slides, and on my website, it's a Google site. I've got loads of links and activity ideas of activities for home and activities for school. You can go in there and sneak around, see if there's anything else in there you can pick and have a go at and steal. Right, Bennett? Steal.
Perfect.
You know when I said that.
Thanks. So
teachers are the best stealers. I mean, sharers ever.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank you, Alenna. Sorry if I'm not saying your name right. I went to a presentation, or I went to one of your other presentations, or I went to it. I sat and watched, and I actually beat the teacher. I remember that. And I remember taking some of those activities and trying them and still using some of them. And fantastic. The kids loved it because, of course, beat the teacher. What? You know, so phenomenal. And this is I definitely am going to use the ideas like the donut piece. I think that's fantastic because with the visual, I think the kids really need that. And, you know, just to know that you care and respond back. Like my kids are great about emailing me. And I said, hey, you know, do something. Let me know what you're doing behind that avatar, right?
Right.
But fantastic. That's why I come and like to, you know, liberate all these ideas from all you fantastic folks. So, and we can share out as well.
Yeah, great.
Thank
So
you.
your health class, Alenna, is in a standalone situation over your physical education. Is that correct?
Yeah, I see kids 3 times a cycle, twice for phys ed and once for health.
Okay.
So it's a really fortunate situation.
I only see them once a week, and I have to do my health and physical education all together in the gymnasium.
Yeah, I have my own health area. Well, without a pandemic and construction, I usually have my own health area. So it's really nice to be able to separate that and cover a lot of information. So I see them in a typical year every other day. I'll see them day 135 or 246. But now it's once a week because it takes a whole week to get through 2 days of the cycle.
Does anyone else have any other questions for any of us?
Thanks for coming. Hopefully you got something out of it.
I have a question. If we're not as tech savvy as you guys are, like with those, I wouldn't even know how to make those. I mean, I've seen them on YouTube, but your slides with multiple pictures, multiple YouTube's videos on them, I mean, would it just be as simple as just taking one of yours and then, or dropping one out and putting one in, that same kind of,
Yeah.
like that same template?
Are you able to use Google Slides?
Yes.
If you can use Google Slides, then you can do it. It's not difficult. When you're in Google Slides, there's actually an insert button on the top.
Okay.
That's how I insert the audio tracks right onto the slide, rather than playing your own music off your computer. I find it's easier if you embed them into the slide. If you're trying to do hybrid at school, it's different. You can just play your own music from your own device. But when you're playing the music to go home, it's a bit harder, I think. But the videos, yeah, you just hit insert YouTube video. As long as you've got the link, you just insert it right in, and then you can size it to whatever size you want.
Gotcha.
And you obviously can take that format that either Alenna has or I have, and then you can just put your own stuff in there.
We could just steal it.
Or you could steal it, or just build your own version around however that works. What works for you, because everyone's situation is different. Sure. And no one's identical because of everyone's got different kids. Everyone's different. So yeah.
So on here, can you see my screen still? It's insert video. And if you just put like 30-second timer, and you can search right here. And then if I want this one, I just select it and it will pop up in my slide.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're just condensing it to fit in there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you can make
drag and drop them across.
Smaller. You can put it here if I don't want it to cover everything.
Okay.
Here. Same thing with audio. If I find a YouTube video that has like 30-second timer with music, same thing, and then it'll just pop right in there, and then you can put it wherever you want, and then the music will play automatically with it.
You can also then change the where it starts and ends on the. If you look over there, you can change also playback options. You can turn controllers on and off. There's a bunch of different full controls in there, and there are some YouTube videos on how to use different options in Google Slides and how to make things work. There's a lot of like 1-minute tutorials if you're struggling, or ask around. Someone else has probably done it in your district or around, or there's a tech person. Just ask around and ask for help. People are often, even in different disciplines, are often willing to help you get the tech stuff down. And once you've done it once, you'll be good to go.
I'm good with this. I'm good with this. I can help you out. Who's that? Bennett, right? They asked.
Yeah.
I can send you like a copy of one of my slides and maybe go over it with you one day. I'll put my email address on there.
Bennett, another thing you could do, our district, has where the tech person for every school will literally give you a private session if you email them. Like I have Sarah, she comes in.
Yeah, I think she's in my school.
And she'll literally show you exactly how to put all the links in for you.
Okay. We're using this, what's it, that SL, it's the smart. When you're putting on a YouTube, here's kind of a stupid question though, but when you put one of the YouTube videos, you put it on a slide, are you still getting the commercials that come on, or the commercials are eliminated?
I know that on my browser, I have a YouTube block. I have an ad blocker built into my browser. So I don't know whether if that makes a difference or not. Alenna?
I've never had an issue with that. So I don't really, I don't know.
I
I know there's ways you
that.
can block it, like the safe tube and the video link. If you use video link and put the link in there, it turns it into like a safe link for kids. And I think it takes away the ads, but I've never had an issue with it. Maybe I just get lucky and choose the ones without it, but I don't know.
You mean there's a way to keep from having just that little pop-up box, not one that plays, but like there's a way to keep the ad box from, because I'm always like, it's covering up the video, so I have to X out of it.
Yeah.
There's a way to block that?
Betty Ann says if you use video link, it'll take away the ads. So, but yeah, once you click the X once, I've done that. Like I know it's gonna pop up, so I click the X real quick, and then once you click it once, it usually doesn't come back, depending on the video.
That's the same for me on that Tabata workout one that's on there.
I'm sure other people have a better answer, but that's been my solution. Just click it real fast. But if they are clicking it on their own, then I guess they'll just have to click it or deal with it. So much to think about.
So sorry to interject here. I think we're going to wrap up the breakout rooms because I think high school and middle school are done. We can still do Q&A afterwards in the main room, all right, because I know this conversation is going pretty well. So we're going to wrap up. We'll close the rooms, and you guys can continue the Q&A in the main room, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. Cool. Most likely.
The rooms are now opening.
Hi, Jane. How you doing?
Sorry, it was muted. I'm good. How are you?
Hello.
I thought I was by myself at first. I was like, oh boy.
I noticed that. I was like, what happened? Did you offend people? I mean, I thought it was pretty, pretty game.
Oh, man.
I just assumed all middle school teachers will come here.
Yeah. We'll give it another minute and then we'll get started.
Maybe we just can't follow directions.
I guess not. So while we wait, how about both of you tell me about yourselves? Where do you teach at?
After you, Jane.
Oh, thanks. So I actually teach in Kensington at John B. Stetson Charter School.
Okay.
So, I've been there this is my 7th year, I believe.
Okay.
This year is a little bit different, obviously, than the past 6, but yeah, it's nice. It was tough at first, I think, because like the climate there, but then now like students know who I am and kind of like you build a name for yourself, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining tonight, I guess.
So I'm not in the classroom anymore. I had been in the classroom for over 30 years in Philadelphia. I'm actually the director of health and phys ed for the school district of Philadelphia now.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah. Well, welcome. And I'm sure it's kind of a sigh of relief for you, with everything going on right now that you aren't in the classroom.
Maybe yes, maybe no.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, there's some other things that we're other hoops that we get to go through, so it's all good.
Yeah, well, that's true. Hey, Andrew, what's up? You're muted.
You're muted, Andrew.
Hey, Bo, meet our director, Nancy Naywith.
We just met.
You know what's funny? I looked in this room and I saw it was light, and I was like, okay, well, that's probably because we really don't have a lot of middle schools anymore.
Interesting.
Well, some, but
yeah, no, that's all right. Hey, we
hey,
can with us four. Okay, there we go. Now we got more. Hi, Judith.
Judith.
Hey, Nancy, I told him you went to high school.
I could go there if you want me to.
You went to high school.
So Judith and I work together in central office.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Hi, Judith.
Hi.
Yeah.
because I signed up for high school. I saw Nancy probably went to high school, so I told him to send me in middle school.
Hi, Laura.
Oh, good. Either way's fine, right?
It doesn't matter. It's good. I got good company. It doesn't matter.
Laura.
Oh, we got Andrew too.
So, Laura, if you don't mind, would you mind introducing yourself? What do you teach? Like, are you at a middle school? As well?
So I'm at Jenks Elementary. It's K-8.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So let me just kind of get an idea of where all you are coming from. So are you still virtual, or are you hybrid now, or you were hybrid? What's kind of the situation?
My school just went hybrid this week.
Just this week. Okay. And how about Jane?
We're still virtual.
Still virtual. Okay. Are you going hybrid at any point, or is it going to be virtual the whole year?
From my understanding, we're going to start hybrid probably next year.
Okay.
But we're like going to start going into the building to teach virtual. Like to see.
Oh, what school are you?
I'm at John B. Stetson, a Spirit Charter School.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I created kind of like a little slide or an infographic or whatever. I'll kind of talk a little bit about it, and then that way to see what questions you have. Just to give you a little bit about my situation. So March of last year, we shut down, we went virtual. And then the beginning of this year, we went into a hybrid model. So thankfully, I did not have to do live PE lessons for the kids that were virtual. So I post asynchronous work. So I have the kids, students live in class, and then they do some sort of assignment outside of PE. And I'll kind of share some ideas with all of you, see what questions you have. And by all means, feel free to jump in at any point since it's such a small group of us. So let me kind of share my screen here. If I can share my, there we go. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of talk about each of these little bullets and then see what questions you might have. So I tried to come up with little catchy, fun names here. And the first one really was kind of a safety plan. And
actually, real quick, Bo, are you recording, by the way?
I am. I should be. I hit record. So yeah, we should be good.
Just making sure.
Yep. All right. So this top left one was all about safety. My coworker and I, it's just her and I, we wanted to, have everything in place and plan. So we met with our administration, and they pretty much gave us the green light. They obviously said, make sure the kids are safe, and you have your X's and your Y's and you got your T's, I's, all that, O's, whatever the case may be. But what we ended up identifying is before class, we put out hand sanitizer. Now, I don't know if that's going to be an option, but we have the kids sanitize their hands before class. We have them sanitize their hands after class. In regards to equipment, in the beginning of the year, we did a tennis unit outside, and we tried to have 2 containers. So our first period kids would use 1 container of tennis rackets. And then after that class was over, I would sanitize the equipment, and then we would use the other barrel for other equipment. Now, talking to other health and PE teachers in the middle school settings, I've seen some that say no equipment. I've seen some that say limited equipment. And then I've seen some schools kind of act as if everything's back to normal. So I don't know what this number 1 says. Let me just check in chat. Yeah, it should be. Let me just double check here. It should still, yeah, it's still recording. We're good. All right. So what we ended up doing is we did that for tennis, and then I was actually out for a little bit. I had my wife was pregnant, we had a daughter, so I had a few months that I was out, and then I kind of came back. And so far, administration hasn't given us any pushback in regards to what we could do with the kids. We're currently doing volleyball with them, and it seems to be going really well. In regards to masks, that can be an issue with many students, and it's with middle school, I mean, as all of you know, it's just kind of like getting on top of them. Hey, remember to keep your mask up. Remember to keep your mask up, that kind of thing. And it'll come down. And I tell them, like, look, we understand we want to be active. We understand your mask might fall down. Just please put it up for the safety of yourself and others. And middle school kids have been pretty good with it. And some other things to kind of think about is, I don't know if any of you have had that conversation yet about can you use equipment, but I think if you can't, then it's okay. What's the next step? So let me kind of get an idea of where all of you are, if you're allowed to use equipment, or if you haven't had those conversations yet. What are all of you kind of thinking about that?
Well, I know for me right now, it's just K through 2 that's back. So my middle school students are still virtual.
Okay. Have you given any thought once they do come back, if you can use equipment or not?
I haven't really thought that far, to be honest.
I could probably jump in on that one. So the guidance that's gone out is that actually we're going to be without equipment for right now.
Okay.
Because teachers are going to be primarily in classrooms or doing push-in.
Okay. All right. So if the teachers are in the classroom, I would suggest a lot of fitness-based activities. And I started kind of playing around with these ideas of how I would do that. If, they threw me in a classroom, what would I do? I think one of the big things I would do would be empower the students. So I would kind of almost every day there's a website, derby.com. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but derby.com has these workout cards and there's hundreds of them. And what you could do is every day have a virtual student have them pick one of those derby cards, and then they could almost be the teacher to lead the rest of the class. There's no equipment involved. They're doing body weight type of activities. So that way it kind of empowers them. If you're doing, live with the virtual students, even if it's not live, I think you could still have a virtual student pick that workout, and then you could use that with your in-class students. Another thing, kind of thinking middle school, what I would do with them is really stress form and technique of body weight activities. I did a activity pre-COVID where I put out a shoebox and a slip of paper, and there was about 25 different body weight activities. And the idea was students partnered up, they would do a push-up, and then after they were done, I asked them, where did you feel it in your body? And the idea was they would write it down on the slip of paper, put it in the shoebox. And at the end of class, I kind of used this as a summarizing strategy where we kind of reflected. And my whole premise of why I wanted to do that is to see if kids had the basic anatomy. And my school, unfortunately, they do not. And I don't know if any of you can kind of relate to this, but what I ended up doing is using that in follow-up lessons to say, all right, let's talk about anatomy. So, if you can't use equipment, I would strongly suggest focus on the fitness-based, focus on the body weight activities, form, technique, anatomy, and incorporating the anatomy is going to tie in that health component. So I think you can kind of take it in that direction, especially, I know school's starting to wind down, so that might give you some options. So that was kind of like my first line of thought with the safety aspect. Kind of moving on to this next one here, I call it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And my first kind of line of thought here is know when to disconnect. And I don't know if any of you can agree with me with this, but I just get inundated with messages and emails from students. And, I know maybe not necessarily the K-2 aspect, maybe, once you have those middle schoolers back, but I noticed the kids, it's an instant like, hey, did you grade this? Hey, can you give me feedback on that? And I've realized like I need to set those healthy boundaries. And if there's anything I can, give all of you, definitely set those healthy boundaries with your students. So that way you can say, all right, 3 o'clock, I'm checking out, from the email or we use Schoology. I don't know. Is anybody familiar with that platform? Yes, no. Okay. Schoology is kind of like Blackboard or trying to think of some of these other programs. It's a portal where we upload some of our assignments in the virtual aspect. But I'll get messages nonstop on that. It's interesting being this is my first year kind of split at middle school and high school. Middle school students, they're right on top of me. The high school students are like, yeah, whatever. If I get to it, I get to it kind of thing. It's an interesting dynamic for sure. But that would be my first advice. And then the second thing is setting those priorities from the students at home, saying like, okay, realize I'll get to the grades when I get to it. I tried to set myself every Friday. It's like, that's my focus. Fridays, I focus on grades because what I end up noticing is, like, for example, today, I tried to get some grading in because this upcoming Friday I have an event I'm hosting at the school. If I don't do them and I wait, then I just get a snowball effect and more grades come through. So, I think if you set that boundary of you're going to have grades this day, or that day, or one day, or whatever the case may be, that way the kids will know that, okay, this is when I'm doing my grades. Because middle school aspect here, kid will message me, hey, did you grade my thing? I just turned it in. No, not yet. I'll get to it, kind of thing. So that would be one of the advice I would have. And the second thing is, you know, you can't respond to email right away. It's the nature of hybrid. You want to focus with your live kids that you have in person. The hybrid kids that are from home just need to realize, like, I'll get to you as soon as I can. And I've now kind of built that rapport with the kids that, they do have that understanding. So that would kind of be my second piece of advice. Does anybody have any questions in regards to that?
I have a question. So does your school, like, you're just videoing yourself as you're doing your lesson, so it's not like two separate lessons?
So I'm actually not recording myself for the virtual students. I'll kind of give you an idea of some of the things I did with them. Actually, I'll jump to that to the next point. So it gives you an idea of kind of what my class looks like on a day-to-day kind of thing.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
So why don't I go to that just to kind of give you an idea here. So this would be down here. I call it option choices and bears oh my. So one of the things I've realized for my virtual students, I want to give them options. Kids like it. Plus it kind of keeps it fresh for them. So these are just 3 examples that I've done before. I'll have a virtual workout log where, I tell the kids, our school's one-to-one with iPads, but if they don't want to use their iPad, they can use their phone. They can use a smartwatch if they have one, record their workout. Maybe they go to take their dog for a walk, or they're going for a bike ride. I've had some students go, well, I play on the basketball team. Can I use that? And I try to discourage that because as much as I love them being physically active, I want them to do this outside of, a sports setting. But I have them record their workout log, submit that as one of their virtual assignments. Another one is an activity calendar. There's so many of them that are out there. I'm currently using one from Shape America, and it's like a mind body kind of thing. And the kids seem to like it. And the activities are on the easier side. So what I try to do is have them do a whole week's worth, and then I give them some sort of reflection. I really like incorporating social emotional learning into my teaching. So getting reflection from the students is part of the self-awareness aspect of social emotional learning. It gets them to kind of think about their thoughts, their actions, their behaviors. So what I'll do is say, okay, from this week, pick one of those days. Let's talk about it. What did you like about it? What kind of thoughts were going through your head? And, it's more than just the activity itself, because if you look, we've seen some of them, like I said, they are kind of on the easier side. And then, actually I put physical activity calendar twice. I don't know why I did that. I made this late last night. I apologize. But another one I would do is on Derby, they have articles. So I mainly like to put an article out there, especially if there's a student that might have, a broken arm or a broken foot and they can't do some form of physical activity, providing once again that option for them. Okay, hey, there's this article. The one I currently posted this week was about martial arts and why you should do it at home. It's a pretty fun article for the kids. And then I have them once again kind of reflect on it. What are 5 facts you learned about it? How could this apply in PE class? How could it apply outside of PE class? And just getting them to kind of, think about this more than just the article itself. And by doing this, it's kind of keeping me structured and organized. So that way, every week, it's like these 3 assignments. That way I know what the kids are doing. The kids kind of have an idea of what they're doing. And then that way I don't have to kind of, get stressed out and think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do this week? Because that's where I was in the beginning of the year. It was every week I would have to upload new assignments for virtual kids. And I would say to myself, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? So now that I've kind of been in the groove, it's these 3 assignments, and it kind of keeps them moving, keeps them in a set routine, but it provides an option for them. So that way, one week they might do, this week worth of what's on the America calendar. Another week they might decide, okay, it's getting nice out, I'm going to go for a bike ride. I'll submit that. So that's kind of what I'll do for the virtual kids. And then for the in-person kids, I'll do kind of what I'm doing for the day. Now that I'm at high school for part-time, what I've been trying to do is mirror something for both, which is kind of ambitious and it involved a lot of work. But to give you a few examples, so we did pickleball. I had the kids at the high school, they were doing pickleball. I created a, how do I describe it? It was almost like a journal, and it was an interactive journal. And I can certainly send it to any of you. Just shoot me your email and I can give you that so you can take a look what it looks like. But it has a video on there. It talks about terms of pickleball, has them create like facts about it, list out sources. So it kind of is mirroring what we were doing in the class. And that might work for some, but for some of the activities, it obviously won't. So that was kind of a fourth option that I added for the high school crew. So those are just kind of a few of the things. To your point, I didn't have to do those live lessons, thankfully. If my administration would have asked me that, I would have kind of asked them to not go that route, because I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, one, the safety. Some teachers, well, I shouldn't say some, most of the teachers in my district have a 55-inch TV. They have one of these giant cameras mounted to it, and then they have a laptop attached to that. So that way you can teach live. And that's what pretty much everybody except for all of us at the encore level, they call, arts, ourselves, music, that kind of thing. We don't have those. But I think if I had one of those in the classroom, especially in the gymnasium, I would think it would be a huge safety issue, especially if we can all agree middle schoolers, their body awareness is, some of them are like a bull in a china shop. They can't slow down. So I'd be worried some of them would run into that and then break that very expensive equipment. And two, it would really, how do I say this? I feel like it would limit the potential of what I could do with those kids in person, because they would have to do what the kids from home are doing. And I understand the equity piece behind it, but then I think that these kids from school need a quality education and they would be missing out on that. So, I don't know if any of you are going to have that say, but I'm so thankful that they didn't have cameras, for a live lesson in my classroom. And thankfully, my superintendent is a former health and PE teacher. So he never actually asked me my input, but they all kind of just said, hey, you do what you want. We trust you, and, kind of go from there. So hopefully that helps. I don't know have any of you had that talk where you're going to have to do a live lesson with at home and in person kind of thing?
That's what Philadelphia is looking like with the pre-K to 2 right now.
Okay.
And grades 3 through 12 are remaining virtual for right now.
Okay.
But yeah, but it's a live lesson for the kids in front and also the kids that are at home. We also have, at this point in most schools, a very, very low percentage of students who are attending in person. After April 5th, there's going to be another survey, see if more parents want their kids to come, that may increase. But regardless, at this point, still, the guidelines have been set that teachers are still pushing into classrooms.
Okay. All right. So pushing into classrooms. So then, yeah, I would just say in that situation, Nancy, like definitely, try to empower those kids from at home, just to make them feel like they're a part of the class with those that are in that actual classroom. So like I said, I think just the fitness based would be a big thing. And you can even have them, if you want to tie in an assignment outside of class, like, okay, I would like everybody to research a body weight activity. Okay, Jane, you're going to be in charge of a push-up. Judith, you're going to be in charge of a dip. Nancy, you're going to be in charge of a calf raise, and so forth. And the idea here is you can have that kid then be the presenter, be the teacher in front of everybody else. So I'm all about empowering students. And I think, if you find those little ways of sprinkling it in to keep it fun and engaging, especially, in your situation, that way the kids can feel, empowered. And you can even do the same for the kids in the classroom. Okay. All right, Laura, you're going to have uh, the plank. Okay. So Laura, who's in the actual classroom with the camera on, the kids at home, she's going to be teaching everybody, okay, here's how you do the plank. Okay. You want to put a little bit of emphasis in your abs and your shoulders and your glutes, and you want to tighten them. You want to try to keep your body straight like a surfboard, those kind of things. So, and I can certainly, like I said, if there's anything I can do to help, please reach out. I'm all about sharing and helping. We're all in this together, like why reinvent the wheel? So if there's anything that you're like, oh, I really like that, or, can you send it? Just shoot me an email. I have it on this slide here. So that way we can connect after today's over. All right, so kind of moving on to this next point over here, I call this teamwork makes the dream work. And as I mentioned at my middle school, it's just me and one other person, and her and I have worked well for 13 years. It's going to be bittersweet that next year I'm going to be up at the high school without her, but I know the middle school is going to be in great hands. And one of the things kind of we decided is we have such small numbers that we combined our classes. I've normally had a class, I'm going to say about 25, somewhere in that ballpark. Well, I I laughed because yesterday I had 3 kids and my colleague had like 10, so we had 13 total. And it just makes no sense for me to be by myself when I have 3 and she has 10. So, if that's feasible, if the numbers are small and you have enough space, might be something to consider in your classroom or in the gymnasium. And the other thing we try to do now is we just had a school board meeting yesterday, and they mentioned after Easter break, we're going to be bringing back all of our students. So we have a group A in Monday through Thursday. Friday is 100% virtual. And then the group B students are all virtual this week. And then we flip. Then next week, the group B students are in school Monday through Thursday. Friday's virtual, but next week is Easter break, so they go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we come back from Easter break, and that group A, group B is combined. So we basically wanted to identify, okay, what kind of things do we want to do? Because obviously we're not going to most likely be combined, since most of our students are going to be back. What kind of activities haven't we done? Can we be mindful of what we're doing? Obviously keeping the kids safe, that kind of thing. So those are just things, if you do have colleagues in your department, things to start thinking about as a group. Down here, these are kind of my last 2. I call this flexible like Gumby. And I've realized, we just need to be empathetic of the home situation for students, that some may not have the available adult supervision or reliable internet. Last year, when my school shut down, what ended up happening, I had this girl that wasn't doing any of the virtual assignments. At the time, when everybody was 100% virtual, it was a very tedious and very ambitious task, but I gave feedback to every single student that submitted some form of an assignment to me. But what I noticed is there was a few students that I wasn't getting any feedback or hearing back from. So, I ended up reaching out to them, finding out that they just didn't have the internet. And I definitely want them to be included just like everyone else. So I ended up making some packets of papers, sending those home so that way those students could be included. So I say that just to be mindful that, you're going to have some students, especially in the hybrid setting, that you're not going to hear from or get anything back. And unfortunately, now that I'm in a hybrid, reflecting on where I'm at as a professional, that's an area that I need to work on right now, because it's hard. I just unfortunately don't have enough time in the day to reach some of those students that I did last school year when school shut down. So just try to be mindful of that. Try to kind of get an idea of, okay, who am I not hearing from? What's going on? Is everything okay? And maybe that's where you can start that conversation to reach out and say, hey, is everything all right? I just noticed you never turned in a virtual assignment for the past couple weeks. I just want to see how you're doing, kind of thing. And some kids will, for the middle school, they'll be very honest with that. Others won't, but it shows a lot, you as an educator kind of showing that you care about them, but also kind of get an idea of what situation they're going through. Also here, I just said, if students need special support, be open to their unique needs. It kind of ties in with the previous point up there. And then the last one I have here is to give yourself and others grace. There was a point in the beginning of the year, I almost like hit the panic button. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, this is just a lot. I've talked to many of my friends in our profession, and they've said hybrid is the most challenging. I'm of the mindset I'd rather be all in one way or another. Give me all the virtual kids, give me all the in-person kids. But because of the hybrid, it's like I wish I could just split myself into eights. I don't say two, I say eights, because there's so many things that I wish I could be doing that I can't be doing because there's only one of me. And then I say, well, okay, I'm also now at the high school too. So it's like, split that even more. So, I just say, like, realize it's okay. We'll do the best we can to get through this. And, it might not be perfect. You might make mistakes, and that's okay. And I've come to realize that I use that as an opportunity to learn and say, all right, what can I do? How can I do it differently? How can I be a better teacher? And, just realize that it's okay. And you're doing the best you can. And I got to tell you, from doing a hybrid this entire year, those kids get that. So I definitely, suggest that to yourself, to just kind of keep that in the back of your mind when you get into that hybrid setting with your students. And then the last part here, I love the good reference here: stop, collaborate, and listen. But as I mentioned kind of in the beginning here, we're all in this together. So, don't feel like, you're by yourself here, even if you don't have a department. Realize that there's so many resources that are out there that are going to be willing to help you. I'll be honest, I've scoured the internet on all of these different, and this doesn't even this is just part of the surface, but there's stuff that's out there that'll help you, so that way you'll be ready to succeed with your students. And these are just a few of them. Twitter has been huge with me. PE Central, Shape America. Like I said, there's many more, but those are just a few of those examples. And then down at the bottom, I want to give you my email. That's my personal email, and I also for my Twitter handle. So that way, if you do want to connect, or there was something you're like, hey, can you send that to me? As I mentioned, I'm happy to help. And we're all in this together. So I'm gonna stop sharing, see what questions you have, and let's just kind of talk it through and kind of go from there. So I apologize, I gave you a lot there. So feel free, unmute yourselves.
So hey, Bo. Hey,
Well,
guys. So thanks for doing this with us.
Absolutely.
I was just jumping out in between the classes. When they decided to tell you guys to go hybrid, I missed the first half of this. Did they have you full day hybrid, or did they have you guys in a half a day, where they go home for half the day?
So our students are full day hybrid. We have a group A and a group B students. Group A is in school Monday through Thursday. Friday is 100% virtual for everybody. Mm-hmm. And then the flip week, we get our group B students Monday through Thursday.
Oh, so
Friday
it's
all day virtual.
They are.
So one group, like for example, this week I have all group A students, which is letters A through L in the alphabet of last name. Rest of the alphabet down, they're all digital. So they're all virtual.
What are you live streaming for the kids at home that are on their off week?
Nope, I'm not. So I post asynchronous work for them. And I was mentioning to everybody, like, I give options. In the beginning, I kind of was like overwhelmed. So I didn't really know what to upload. So I kind of put more than I thought I would need. Now I'm kind of at a point where I have 3 different type of things. And one's an article. That way, if there's any students that might be, some physical limitation, I post a calendar with activities and have them reflect on it. So it's more than just the activity itself. I was telling all them I like to incorporate social emotional learning into my stuff. And then the other one is a workout log. So that way it gives them some sort of flexibility. And for the middle school kids, I had some of them go, "Oh, well, I have field hockey. Can I record that?" And I tell them no. Like, I want stuff outside of the school setting kind of thing. And the kids have been good with that. So that's kind of where I've focused on the virtual kids, and my main focus are the kids live. They need it. Well, everyone needs it for that matter. The mental health is
we have a lot of our guys talking a lot on mental health and SEL and all that a lot. So it's good to hear that a lot of you guys are.
Yep.
But thanks, guys. And Jane, good to see you guys here.
So your high school students go which days, Bo?
So high school, it's funny. The high school students, it's a completely different schedule. They're hybrid, and we have Group A and Group B. But my middle school students, we have a 6-day school calendar. So like today was day 1. No, sorry, day 1 on my calendar. The high school students have a day 1 even, day 1 odd, day 2 even, day 2 odd, day 3 even, day 3 odd, day 4 even, day 4 odd. It goes all the way up to day 6. I have to have a planner. So
That's right.
it's unreal. My morning, I'm at the middle school. And then I leave, I come home and eat lunch, which is ironically on the way to my high school. Then I go to the high school for the afternoon, and it's just, it's a lot.
It's interesting. It's interesting that they haven't, that they didn't, like, at least for this year,
Yep.
find something unified that they could do throughout, from K-12, just
yeah.
for the benefit of everybody just trying to figure it out.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's our hope next year, or at least I know we're going to block at the high school they were mentioned. So it's going to be an 87-minute period. And from what I heard, that might be the case too with middle school, which I still have to talk to my colleague to find out, because I think they're still kind of unsure about that. But yeah, it's certainly interesting, to say the least.
So is the high school at least doing the week on, week off with their 2 groups too?
Yep. So they also are on Group A. So all the Group A stays the same. It's just the schedule itself, which is interesting to say the least.
Do you use your gym?
Absolutely. Use it all the time. Yep. Middle school, we are doing volleyball right now. High school, we're in the weight room. Yep.
So, wait, I want to make sure I get this. So for volleyball, are you working on individual skills, or are you actually doing team play?
So we've done both. Typically what we'll do is we'll start some sort of a warm up with them. We have them make a circle and do a bump and set, which we've already kind of went over the skill of that. Then I'll incorporate some other type of skill. Today we went over spiking, and then from there, then we'll go over some rules of the game, and then we'll let them play a game. And the kids have been pretty good with it. Like I said, I mean, they're distant enough. They keep their masks up, and they just want to get back to normal as best they can. And my heart breaks for them. I tell all the kids, the middle school kids, the high school kids that I've taught many years ago, like, just my heart breaks for them. It truly does. But the kids have been doing really well as they can, given the circumstances. How about other questions that you have? I'm happy to help here.
I have a question. When you do your activity log, you know how you said I understand your kids all have like iPads.
Sure.
My kids, I couldn't ask them to take out their Chromebook outside. I couldn't ask them to take their iPad outside. I don't know if their neighborhood's safe enough for them to go outside. So I don't even think that's would be an option.
That's a great point that you bring up. So what I ended up telling the middle schoolers, I encouraged them to record it. However, yes, you're going to get those kids that are like, I'm not bringing my iPad out. I'm not bringing my phone. I'm not bringing my watch. And I just told them that's fine. Just, like, get an idea of what you think you did and then submit that. And especially for the middle schoolers, I've been very lenient with them. Like, some were like, I didn't record it. I'm like, that's fine. What did you do? Oh, I went for a bike ride. How long did you go? Maybe about 30 minutes. perfect. All right, send that in. And then I counted that. Because, I understand like everything's not apples to apples. And obviously, given everyone's circumstances, it's not going to be the same as much as we want it to be the same. So, I encouraged it, but certainly like I'm not going to hold that against a kid. Just to get a kid outside and active, I mean, that's what we're all going for right now. So that's in my book works perfectly fine.
And they might not be great at telling time, but if they can, you can have them take a picture of the clock before they like either go out back or out front, whatever, and then submit the time when they come back too for like the younger guys who don't want to take their things. That might be an option too.
Yep, that's a great idea. And I didn't even think of that. So now I might use that going forward. So
Yeah.
Perfect. I had a girl last year when we shut down, we're fully virtual, and I used a workout log. She told me she ran a about 4-minute mile. And I told her, then you need to go out for the track team.
Yeah. You can always tell the ones who don't actually do your virtual logs, right? Yep.
I've used the Map My Run by Under Armour.
Yep.
So, and then the students, like I said, I mean, it saves their activity, and then they sent me the screenshots.
Yep.
So I can see like how far they, went and how long. So
that's a great idea. We did something with Stravia, but we did Stravia over the summer. I partnered up with our local IU in Berks County, and we kind of hosted this event for educators, parents, and kids. And it was like not a walkathon, but like a walking club. So everyone could log your steps, and then you could kind of see everyone. It was a kind of cool, like community-based activity. And it wasn't just, I'm at Daniel Boone. It wasn't just Daniel Boone. It was other schools in Berks County. So that was a kind of cool way to tie it in. So, you could think about those type of things. All right, if you can use an app, which I know some schools are kind of iffy on those things, we have to put in not a help ticket, but we have to like talk to IT. Then they have to push it through onto their iPad. Sometimes that can be a hassle. Sometimes that could be a benefit. You have to kind of look at each situation and go, okay, is this something feasible that we could do, kind of thing? Because some of those apps are perfect if you want to use them and you can use them, kind of thing.
I know that in Philadelphia, the district is very wary of using a lot of applications. Mm-hmm. Unless they can set up like an MOU and make it a single sign-on through our servers.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of data that's collected about kids, and because of FERPA, and even sometimes HIPAA, there are a lot of things to be concerned about.
Nancy, you bring up an excellent point, because with Stravia, we actually had to put in a waiver for that. So that's a great point. It has the GPS location on there. Obviously, you're with kids on that. Any other kid could say, oh, I can see exactly where they ran or where they did that loop. So that's another thing. That's a great point, that you need to kind of think these things through before actually doing them, because
so it's not even just another kid can see it, an adult can see it.
True. Yep, absolutely.
And if they run in the same pattern every time, or walk the same pattern, it definitely brings some risks into consideration.
Yep. Hey Nick, good to see you.
What's going on?
Yep.
Sorry, I had you on mute. I was putting my little guy to bed, so I was incognito for a while there.
You weren't that incognito, Nick.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yep, good to see you.
Good to see you.
How about other questions that you might have that we can kind of answer or talk it out, or ideas you might have? What kind of things are you all thinking about, like that you want to do when you get those students?
I've been in and out, so I wish I could jump in and contribute something more than just a awkward silence.
No worries. Yeah, like I said, I just think start thinking some of these ideas through. And I think by having this conversation, I think by, getting your wheels turning, it's already got to kind of set you up for success and kind of get you on the right foot. Because, like I said, there was one point for me, I kind of almost was like in panic mode, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And, now that I've kind of done this hybrid, I'm in that routine, I kind of know what to expect. It just gets easier and easier with time. So we have 3 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes. So, that would be my advice is, start thinking these things through, like, all right, safety. What do we want to do for safety? Even in the classroom. Okay, let's look in that regard. How can we make this safe for our students? What are we going to need to do in the physical aspect? We need to push the desk away to the sides. Okay, what kind of activity are we going to do? If it's, having them run in place, we need to be cognizant. Okay, is there anything that they could get hurt on? It's all these things that, in the back of your head that you might go, oh yeah, no problem. But then you get into that situation and go, oh boy, now what? And I know we've all been there kind of thing. So, start thinking about that thing. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I was going to say you raised some really good points. It's interesting. I think that even the best laid plans and planners don't always understand what happens with physical education.
Correct.
And not pointing any fingers because I work at central office. That's the way that works. But there were a number of discussions where, I had to be very frank and say, you totally forgot about us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are things that we need to talk about. These, I'll be honest, I pulled a lot of stuff from Shape America and from PA Shape to share with them, just to put the weight of the association behind the arguments.
Yep.
For different things. And I think it's going to be an ever evolving type of thing. And as whether our focus is on increasing from pre-K to 2, and grow a grade, or, they allow us to go back into the gymnasiums, or even to go outdoors. We're going to be still teaching live regardless to kids who are home and kids who are in front of us. Kids who are home and kids who are in front of us. Another issue becomes, all right, so now what do we do? We're bringing the laptops outside. It's going to be a very interesting kind of thing. And I think that one of the points you raised earlier about flexibility is going to seriously come into play. And I really truly believe that if there's any group of educators that are able to adapt, it's the health and phys ed teachers.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
Well said.
Well, Bo, how do you handle your sanitation of the equipment?
So what I ended up doing is we would have 2 barrels with stuff. So for example, when we did our tennis unit, we would have our period 1 kids. I normally only have period 1, period 2 at my middle school, and that's 8th grade. So my period 1 8th graders, they were outside and we did our tennis unit. And then at the end of class, I had the sanitizing wipes, and I would wipe everything down myself.
Oh, you
high school kids, we kind of gave them that ownership that they would wipe their own equipment down, like for pickleball, and we did badminton. They wiped down their own stuff. But for the middle school kids, I just felt comfortable doing it on my own, especially since it was the beginning of the year, and it was one of our very first units we did. So I just wanted to be extra cautious. So while I did that, my colleague took the students into the school. Well, fortunately, we have a tennis court right outside, which is awesome. Then the second period kids would come down and we would have them use the other barrel of equipment of tennis rackets, and then kind of flip, at the end of that class, I'd wipe all those down. And then I was done at the middle school. My colleague would have then the next period and she would use the first barrel kind of thing. So I know that can be a challenge in itself, having enough equipment. So, it's just one of those things, once again, just think about, okay, what kind of stuff do I have? How much do I have? How can I make this work? And that's where, just start those conversations. I think gets your foot in the right door, because, in the very beginning, I didn't know what to do. I'll be honest, I really didn't. It was like, oh boy, where do I start? And it was, just thinking this through. Okay, let's talk about safety. Let's talk about equipment. Let's talk about where we're going to be. Let's talk about X, Y, and Z. And then it was kind of like taking it one day at a time. Back to Nancy's point, the flexibility, giving myself grace, and just knowing, what, it is what it is. We're going to do the best we can to keep these kids safe. And I know all of you without knowing all of you, and I know you're going to do the same thing. You're going to do what's in the best interest of your kids. And, just doing what you're going to do is going to mean the absolute world to all of them, because they need this. And I don't need to stress that enough to all of you. You won't get it. And you guys know this, Sorry, Nick, you have something?
No.
Okay.
We run out of time. 5,
Yeah, we got
4,
4
3.
seconds. That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Alenna, no worries. I think everybody, I forgot to send a reminder because, newborn. Yeah, we should have everything recorded and put into a video that will give access to all attendees.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Of course. So yeah, that's my excuse. Whenever I forget to do anything, I just say newborn, and everybody really understands.
You'll be doing that for a couple of years now, or you'll be doing it.
Oh my God. I haven't felt rested in like 4 months, but it's okay. It's all good. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So anyways, I think we got everybody back here. Like I said, I know elementary was still going. So we're just going to open the floor for general questions. I know it's getting kind of late, but we'll just open the floor for general questions to any one of our presenters. So I guess, Steve, you can get the chat going. If you have a question, you just put it in the chat and we'll answer it. Or you could just unmute, I guess. No worries.
Two cohorts, cohort A, cohort B, and then we have cohort C, which is exactly as Todd explained, the students who need to be there every day. And for us, mainly was they did not show up for virtual in the fall, so therefore they were deemed as, a flight risk for attendance, so they have to be in all day. We do stop doing hybrid at lunch, and the afternoon, exactly as Todd said, is virtual. We use Google Meet as our platform. I can tell you this, a year ago, if you would have asked me about virtual teaching and Google Meet and Zoom, I would have told you flat out, I know nothing about it. And I didn't know anything about it. So I had to learn everything from scratch and had to learn it pretty quickly because we are teaching our normal classes and they normally are elective. All right. And what our administration did was they placed kids in. Now, you know what happens when kids are placed into a class without a choice? They don't want to be there. So now you're dealing with teaching virtual, and I teach all adventure education. So now you're dealing with teaching virtual, but now you have a group of kids who maybe don't want anything to do with adventure education. Me being who I am, as far as being passionate about my subject, I want to try to make it as great as possible. So the one thing I learned to do is, just teach outside the box. And as Todd said, they want to connect. They want to talk to each other. So find ways that they can communicate and talk so that they're not just sitting there quiet. I did listen to my students, which is something, I definitely am thankful I did. And the number one thing they told me they wanted to do was communicate to each other, that they didn't like sitting in classes where they were quiet the whole time. So I try to do as much as possible with connection, with communicating. I try to make it interesting. I try to make sure that, each class is enjoyable. Each class is stress-free. If I do give an assignment, I don't want it to take longer than, a whole class period to do. There are teachers out in my school who are giving really long assignments, and, you do have to assess. You do have to assess them on something because sometimes they're not with you, and sometimes you only see them one day a week. So you have to find creative ways to do it. I've reinvented the wheel. The one thing I will say with hybrid, if you're going to do it right, is be prepared for setup. Setup takes twice as long. So I'm going to share with you right now a video I made on Friday. So let me see if I can actually get this going right here. Okay.
Don't forget to check that box in the lower right then, Mark, so you can hear it.
Let me go back.
Unshare.
I'm going to stop sharing. All right.
There's a box in the lower
There's
left.
a box.
Just check that. Yep. So then we'll be able to hear it.
So share sound.
Yep. That's the one.
Got it. That's the one I always forget. Okay.
Yep.
So now, all right, as you can see behind me, Todd, you can see it. Everyone sees it.
Yes.
So let me just make this full screen view. File full screen.
It's good. It's full screen. You're
Oh,
on
it is full
the
screen on
video
your
part.
okay.
Yep. You're good.
Perfect. So as you can see behind me, we have this extensive 4-person climbing wall, which, I want when my hybrid kids come in, I want them to feel as special as possible. So just because I only have 3 kids coming in period 1 doesn't mean I'm not going to set up, because they're going to be with me. I want them to come in. We're allowed to use the equipment. I want it to be fun for them because they're coming in. However, my students at home, I need to come up with something for them. So I was teaching them the basics of belaying and the basics of climbing. So here was my setup last Friday. Hey everyone, so you're teaching hybrid, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna say one thing. Please be prepared to spend twice as long setting up. If I wanna use these rock walls behind me, not only do I need to plan to set those up in the morning, which takes a long time, but I also need to set up the technology so that my virtual students who are not hybrid, they're still remote, they can be part of the class as well. So I'm gonna start setting up, and then I'll come back on when this is all set up, and I'll give you kind of an idea of how long it took me. So stay tuned, it does take a while. Okay, so the first part of the setup is done. The wall is set up, and it is now 10 minutes in. We have 2 stations properly hooked up. Knots are all tied, and the necessary equipment for climbing is out. So now I'm gonna set up the hybrid and virtual technology equipment, and the time is 8:05. Okay, so now that the equipment for climbing is set up, it took me another 10 minutes to set up the equipment used for our virtual students to participate in our hybrid model. So this is a 50-inch virtual seat with a webcam. It's on a wheelie cart, and then I have my 2 laptops open next to me. So you do have to bring all these items out with you and position it in a spot where, for example, in my class, students will see not only me belaying from this position here, but they'll also see the students climbing as they progress up the wall. So that is the setup. It took me exactly 10 minutes. It is 8:16 and we started at 8:05. So you're looking at easily 20 minutes of setup time just to do 2 classes in the morning of a hybrid setup. I will have 2 classes this morning, and you can see the extensive amount of setup time and equipment. But then again, at the end of the day, it is about the students and trying to get them back to a live model. I almost forgot, one last thing before you start teaching would be, you gotta have your sanitizing products. So we got our hand sanitizer, which I had to pull out, and your sanitizing products. So there's a lot that goes into it. Again, about 21 minutes to properly set up my class for adventure education. And on that day, there were a grand total of 4 students in 2 classes who showed up. I don't get discouraged by that, because if I can make those 4 kids' day by having them climb the wall, that's great. What I had to start doing, though, is because I found that my students at home were not as engaged as I wanted them to. And I get it, watching students at school climb is not always enjoyable. We started having climb it or hike it. And we're allowed to have our students go out using Strava. So like today, we were doing the cargo net. They came in. I took attendance. I had 35 in one class. 4 kids were virtual. The 4 kids who were virtual got geared up. We said, good morning. We did our attendance. We do a whip around where every kid has to open up their microphone and say good morning to another student. I might give them a question. I might give them a scenario. How was your weekend? Something where they have to communicate and they have to choose someone different. And then following that, the students who were at home, who were going for the hike part of the class, they had 25 minutes to go outside with their phones on Strava, on Nike, on Under Armour, whatever their app is. They had to log 25 minutes of movement, and then they had to come back at the end of the meet. That seemed to work really well. Now, I'm not sure your scenarios with your high schools. I do work in a very affluent area, very safe neighborhood. So my students easily will go outside. They'll go for a walk. The beautiful thing, this was the first day I did it, the beautiful thing was the reaction of the students coming back to the meet. Because I did say to them, I want you back in the meet within 5 minutes of the bell ringing so you can log and submit your screenshot. They were like little guinea pigs. They actually came back on. I looked in Google Classroom, they actually were submitting. And when you looked at their sheets, their screenshot, they actually did do the hikes. Then what was really cool is They started commenting, Mr. Friedrich, I really enjoyed the weather. That was amazing. Thank you so much. And if you think about it, they got 25 minutes, 11 o'clock in the morning outside for a walk. One girl told me she took her dog. I said, that is fine. Another girl said she went and got Starbucks in town. I said, that is fine. And another girl said, I took my dad for a walk. And I was like, he went with you? She goes, yeah, my dad went with me. We had a good conversation. That's pretty cool. As Todd said, you know, you got to lower your expectations. If a student shows up late, you know, I'm not going to hammer them with a tardy. I'm going to find out, is everything okay? You know, I have one student doing chemotherapy from his hospital bed, comes every day to my class and smiles. That shows that I'm making the class enjoyable. We do have some teachers who do some inappropriate things. For example, greeting your students, telling them that today you're gonna meditate, and then having them lay down back in their beds to meditate, all right, coming off mic, off camera, and then at the end, putting your phone on to wake them up, the alarm on for your phone. I've seen that. We do have a great dance program where the kids are dancing at home and in school. We do have a good fitness program where strength and conditioning coach is doing wonderful things with the students there, using the virtual seat and the students at home. And it's pretty amazing. You know, I do walk around and see it. A lot of my colleagues, I did ask, they said if these teachers, as these high school teachers are allowed to have students leave their homes as far as go out for walks, they said students really like Strava, the Strava app, and that they actually do submit the work, you know, and that counts as their day. So a lot of times, you know, for the students at home, they'll go out and they'll be on their own, but they'll come back in. Now, we have some teachers say you don't have to come back in. I like to hold them accountable at the end. So they do come back in. And you also get to tell them, have an amazing day, make it great, do something fun, get outside. Little things, connection. Connection is key. And with my hybrid students, the most I've ever had in the class is 6. I only see them once every 4 days because we divide at lunchtime and there's 2 cohorts. So you see them once every 4 days. So if Todd Bedard is coming in to climb on Monday, I want to make that the highlight of his week, you know? And I want him going home and saying, wow, that was really cool. I went climbing in physical education class in adventure ed. I try not to have my hybrid kids on their computer when they're in. So for example, if we're doing like a verbal whip around, everyone else is on the virtual seat. I'll just have in my virtual seat, the volume is so loud. I'll tell them, you know, hey, you guys will just watch the monitor from over there and just yell your answers and we'll hear it. The cool thing is when someone at home calls on someone in the gym and vice versa, they bounce it back and forth. So, you know, that's my biggest thing is try to connect, definitely be prepared for technological difficulties. You know, we do have a camera on policy. I know a lot of times people don't, and that does make it hard. You know, camera on policy is great. And my kids actually, they have to be in frame, like shoulders, neck. I don't want to see just the forehead. I need to see everything. So we are heading to a full day of hybrid May 3rd. And, you know, I think it's time. And the kids are sanitizing their hands when they come in. You have to sanitize the equipment, you know, but don't stop being creative and don't stop trying to do fun stuff with the kids who are in school. And if you have to have the kids at home do a separate idea or a separate lesson, that's fine. Because as Todd said, if you're teaching racket sports in school and you have 6 kids, well, those kids could do racket sports, but find something, especially in the spring, where the students could go out and take a hike, you know, and do something meaningful, you know. And then in what I try to do with Adventure Ed too, in the afternoon classes when we're all virtual, that's when I'll do the team building. The other thing we do is virtual knot tying, and that has been amazing. The students do all sorts of different climbing knots. They have 12-foot sections of rope. You know, some kids who don't have rope have used hoodie strings. And it's just, as one student said, it's stress relieving. Tying the knots is fun and stress relieving. So I've actually learned a lot about myself and about my students over the last, you know, whatever this has been, 7 months. And I never thought I'd be good at this. I do not do breakout rooms because my technology skills are not that good. I would say keep it as simple as you can do to be effective. The other thing I did, I tell my students flat out, I am not great with technology. We all know teenagers are the best with technology. So if I struggle, can one of you please help me? And they're like, absolutely, no problem. Don't try to look like you're better than the students, because they'll sniff it out right away. So I don't try to go advanced. I don't do Jamboard because I'm not comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, then you lose that flow and that fun because you're all nervous and stuff. So I don't get too crazy with stuff like that. And it just seems like it works for me and it works well. All right.
Yeah, I think with technology, you just have to pick. You have to pick like one thing, and like I, being the leader of my department this year, because they have a Zoom license for the district. Like every technology update that I write a Friday blog just to my department, and every Friday I just put something in there about Zoom, how you can be better in Zoom, activity you can do in Zoom, and it's not app related. So it's not like, oh, if you download Pear Deck for Zoom and then you like, so I'm not trying to get out and make the spider web big. I'm just trying to stay within the confines of Zoom right here. So like if you're using Google Meet, same deal. Everything you learn, just learn it about that, because like if you're trying to get out the Padlet and then you try to do a flipboard, then it feels like the flavor of the week. And the kids have done that 6 times before they came to your class. So like, like our district did an in-service in Flipboard. All of a sudden, everybody's doing Flipboard. So by the time they got to my Flipboard, they were like, "I got your Flipboard right here," and it's and it was pictures you didn't want to see with their middle fingers up. So not really, but they were sick of it. If you can catch on what I'm saying. So you really just have to stick within that thing. And the other thing I wanted to add before I let Mark. Sorry to interject, Mark. Some of the kids, because of the way we divided by alphabet, their last name begins with B and their friend's last name begins with S, and they don't see their friends right now. So like before, when you'd be like, all right, get yourselves into groups, and I'd always let the kids pick their own groups. Mm-hmm. They just all stood and looked at me the one day. And I learned this kind of because like the hard way. I was like, guys, just get yourselves into groups. Like just walk up and introduce yourself to somebody. And they all just kept looking at me. And so I was half like, I don't know if I was annoyed, because that's not really the emotion that I feel, but like, I was like, okay, kids, you just walk up and you go, hi, Mr. Bedard, you want to play tennis with me? And I elbow bumped, and the kids were like, oh, okay. And they walked up and introduced each other and elbow bumped and did exactly. So I was like, oh, okay. So when I'm thinking they just are being a pain in the neck, they actually didn't have the skills for it. So that became part of my lesson. Then it was the teachable moment that got inserted into the curriculum. So when we do breakout rooms, because that's what I do, I always say to them, like right at the beginning, first name, something interesting about yourself, kick it into gear. Like first name, grade, something else, something like that. Because I randomize my breakout rooms so they're not always with the same people. And it's just even if they just say, hey, you know what, I know Mark. Like he's a friendly face next time I see him. So now we're in the big room, be like, hey, Mark, what's up? How the Cowboys going to be this year? Like that kind of thing. I know he likes the Cowboys. We can talk football, bust on each other about being rivals or whatever, So that's one of the things I wanted to share. But
at the end of Q1, we were all virtual. I think I had a senior, and she's a very mature senior, and I never had her before. And she said, the one thing I loved about virtual adventure education, she goes, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think this class would ever work. She's like, I learned small bits of information about every single student in this class. She goes, I just went through the whole screen and I could say something about each child because of the games. So here's what I just did, what Todd was talking for the high school group here. In the chat is my email address. If you copy the email address and send me an email tonight and say Shape Philly presentation, I will make a Google shared folder, and I will give you like 25 short videos of activities that I have done throughout this year that work both for connection, team building, problem solving, all high school stuff that you can totally do in hybrid and virtual and even live, that are no touch. You don't have to touch anyone. You don't have to share any equipment. All right. And get the students talking and having fun. Most of them are designed for the beginning of the class period. So check the chat, definitely take advantage of the free offer. And I'll create a shared folder later. I have it all set up. I'll just put your names into it and you'll get it. And then you can peruse through it at your leisure. It is important. The students have said they want to be communicating. They want to talk. And if you think about high school, how many times did you walk down your hallways and see a bunch of kids just hanging at the lockers, sitting in a cafeteria, just talking about nothing, just dumb stuff?
Yep.
That's what they're craving and they're missing.
For
that
sure.
social interaction, walking into a classroom, sitting down, yo, bro, what's up? Little things like that. I always try to tie it into like real world. I said, guys, your parents walk into work on a Monday morning. I guarantee someone's going to ask them, hey, what did you do this weekend? How was your weekend? You got any plans for the weekend on Friday? They go, these small water cooler conversations are a part of life. This is what we're all craving. Your parents aren't going to work. They're not getting it. You're not getting it. I go, you realize how important relationships are and socialization are. So yeah, we try to do a lot with socializing, and you have to set the tone, because if you're like quiet, like I had a colleague tell me, nah, I said, you don't say good morning to each kid when you check them in. Like I literally got on the list. Hey, what's up, John Smith? How are you today? He'll give me a thumbs up. I see that thumbs up. Hey, Todd, give me a wave. You doing all right? Hey, she doesn't even say the name. She just goes through and after 10 minutes, okay, I got everyone marked off. What are you, just staring at your kids? The other thing is, if you have hybrid kids, end your meet a little early, 2-3 minutes, so you can have like 2 or 3 minutes just for conversation with those kids who came in. Yep. Hey, how's everything going? How are your other classes? How things at your house? Before the bell rings, you have a little connection time. Also, greet your kids when they come in. When the hybrids come in, I always make them, air high five. You make them feel as special as possible, because they know they're going to be only 2 kids, and maybe they're 2 kids that don't talk to each other. So I try to make them feel as welcomed as possible. And don't obviously, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but you start your Google Meet or your Zoom, you're the first one in. And that first kid who pops up, that's the kid who you're going to start that conversation with right away. So, are there any questions for Todd and I? I mean, I would love to take questions if you have any before we go back to the big group. Definitely,
What have you guys struggled with so far, or when you found out you were going to hybrid, what was your panic moment where you're like, holy cow, how do I do this? Or what were your successes? Because maybe you were doing it and you heard it was hybrid and you're like, shoot, I got this.
I guess one of the biggest challenges we have is attendance.
Yep, that's huge.
Yeah, it's very challenging.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big things. We have a thing called we created something at our school. A bunch of us got together with that, and we created something called the Hope Program. So basically, what happens is those kids that are struggling to attend because they're struggling. It sucks. We're basically working with them just to get a credit. So it's not going to count as a grade. It's going to count as a pass.
I mean, we have kids taking Zoom classes at work.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I admire them for that, but I mean, what do you do?
Yeah. How do you get them moving when they're at their job?
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, that's definitely valid. What I've been doing with some of those kids too is like some of them I'm asking them, like, can you record a response with your phone and make it a podcast? Can you write a blog with showing pictures of yourself, or insert a video yourself doing kind of a yoga workout or something like that? Like, it's like Mark said, being outside the box. And honestly, like usually I've offered those things for years, because we've been doing this. We've been doing I've been an online teacher for at least one class for about 4 years, and the kids would never take me up on it. They'd always write because they're used to traditional. But this year I'm getting videos and podcasts more than I'm getting writing. So, other questions from anybody?
I am so jealous that you guys have the camera policy, because we do not have anything like that at my school. And the kids, I mean, they're basically just putting up the screen and then walking away and doing whatever they need to. They're not interacting in any way. Even when you call on them, they don't
this view
because they're not there.
Yeah, the top of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've been with that. The only thing we did with that is like I did a thing where I had student-led fitness. So we did, instead of like me leading yoga or me leading something, I gave them time to work in breakout rooms, create workouts, and then in groups of 3, they would take turns doing like yoga routines and whatnot. And I just was like, look, you want credit for participating in the class? Like, I gotta see you. And If you don't turn your camera on, I'm not giving you credit. I can't credit what I don't see. So, and some of the kids are like, well, I have anxiety. I'm camera shy. I'm famous. If you're going to ruin my brand. They come up with everything. So those kids, I just say, hey, record yourself and submit it if you care. And some of them do, some of them don't.
We have a couple students who have doctor's notes for concussions and they can't be on screens, but with that, I just make sure I call on that person like once every 10 minutes, I call on them more frequently.
Yeah.
Make
sure they're there.
Make sure they're there. Yeah. The other thing is if a student freezes themselves at the end of the meet, clearly they're still on. I'll give the Todd, are you there? Todd, are you there? Yeah. And then when I screenshot the screen of me with the kid and I just email it to him. And I was like, let's talk about this tomorrow. You were frozen at the end. Was it on purpose? And, sometimes, the kid won't say anything and I'll just know it was on purpose. Other times the kid comes in all apologetic. I also mark it in the book. All right, Todd was frozen on Monday. I put a little F, real tiny little F. This way, is there a pattern of it? If a kid falls asleep in the meet, I've had that happen. I just remove them from the meet and they can't get back in and they lose credit for the day. I'm not going to have a kid sound asleep for everyone to make fun of or screenshot. If you fall asleep, I also, that's the other thing. And you may cringe at this, but for the kids at home, first period in the morning is 8 o'clock. If you haven't had breakfast yet, once I take your attendance, run down to your kitchen, bring back something to eat. Get yourself a beverage, hydrate, all right? If you want to wear your hoodie in class with your hood on, that is fine. As long as you are here and in camera, I want you to be comfortable, all right? I want you to dress comfortably. I want you to be energized and ready to go. I have kids actually ask me, I go downstairs and get some breakfast. Quickly, go ahead. And then when they come back, hey, Todd, what did you get? Kids holding a bowl of cereal. Oh, what do you got there? Cheerios, and you just make it fun. You make it fun. If a kid's dog comes in the camera, hey, hold up your dog. They love it. What I think I've done in year 26, I've always been a personable teacher. I think I've humanized adventure ed. Like, if something happened in my house, if my dog came in, I show them my dog. All right, hey guys, look, we got a guest visitor. And you just make it fun because they can relate to it. And when something, when they apologize for background noise, you know what, Todd, just turn your microphone off. It's okay. You have contractors doing a new kitchen. That's going to be awesome. But, just put it in the chat. The other thing is thumbs up, thumbs down, the indicator, which is great. So, I did see on my phone here, I got a lot of people from this group who are going to, so I'll send you that folder and then just peruse through it. All right. I believe also that I am doing a workshop for Shape PA soon, early April, which will be fine. But you guys will get the sneak peek. But definitely try it. Don't be afraid to not try. I had someone in Washington State tell me, once I started doing some of your activities, I noticed the cameras went on. Because it takes a couple kids for everyone to be like, you know what, this is a little fun. I like this, and it's just, it's a different way to teach. Would I love to have 30 kids in climbing all over my gym? Absolutely. But, they could totally shut down the whole program, be like, everyone just do fitness journals. And that was horrendous. And I was actually worried they were going to shut down the department and say, we don't need phys ed because all they're doing is collecting paperwork and there's nothing going on. So from March to June last year, I was never felt so unproductive in my life. So that's why I want to make this year about why my job is important and how I'm benefiting the students, And unfortunately, you do see some bad practices still. And I'm worried about those people. Will they be able to get it back? They've been sitting. That's the other thing with the virtual seat. I try not to sit. Because honestly, I've gained some weight sitting for this whole year. So I try to stand up and move around so because it's a huge webcam. It covers a large space. And, that's changed a lot too, because now kids are like, wow, this guy's up and moving around. This is different than my other phys ed teacher who just sat here and looked into a tiny little laptop. So
what other questions do you have? Do you want to know, or have you guys can you guys share anything that have been successes for you?
I've been virtual this whole year. I work for an inner city school, so our numbers are humongous. But I have been teaching swimming all year. And what I've noticed is the sillier I get, the more interactive they become. They don't turn their cameras on, none of them do. But with teaching swimming, I mean, I have gotten on the floor, on the coffee table, you know, and I've taught them all the strokes. And I'm like, join me. Not that I know if they're joining me or not, because like I said, their cameras are off, but they're commenting in the chat. They're like, what are you doing? Or I can't do this. This is too hard, or, you know, something like that. So I just felt like the sillier I got, the more engagement I got.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
That's really cool. I can't believe they have you teaching swimming or aquatics. That's crazy. That's really, you know, I thought I was pushing it with virtual knot tying, you know, at home. You know, it'd be cool.
We
Heather, it'd be
canceled our
cool.
virtual. We had an aquatics class, and all the kids that went to virtual, we had them switch classes because we're like, yeah, we're not teaching swimming through that.
Well, what we did was, so I work with somebody and we made it almost like a personal fitness course, but had like the swimming aspect to it.
Yep.
So we like this cycle coming up, I'm going to be talking about nutrition, but talking about, you know, what do you eat before a workout? What do you want to eat after a workout? And then they actually will go and do a workout. I actually did somewhat not get in trouble, but I would joked with my classes saying that I was going to have them fill up their bathtubs and swim that way. And apparently one kid took it seriously and told his dad. And we just found this out today because he hasn't been showing up to class because he thought I was making them fill up their bathtubs. And I was like, that was a complete joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what, too, the other success I've had with kids, especially the high school levels, when I started making them make them lead things. So I make them research, which is a life skill. I make them create, and then they lead. And then a lot of times, you know, and I give them credit based on leadership rubrics, and the kids respond to each other in that respect a lot better than like if I stand up here and lead something. You know, I see, like Mark says, cameras go on, they're connecting to each other. I haven't done it where they're leading in breakout rooms yet because I'm not quite ready to give up the idea of trusting them that when I'm not watching, they'll actually do it. But you know, with baby steps, maybe next year.
The other thing I was going to say is I did from November to beginning of February, I did freshman health, all freshman health. And we have 42-minute periods. I made sure 10 minutes at the beginning of each period was designated for team building, connection before content, because it was so much easier to then go talk about, you know, self-injury and depression and suicide when we all just talked about, you know, some fun questions from an icebreaker game. We all just did a problem solver together. So there's nothing wrong with, in physical education, you teach fitness, there's nothing wrong with sprinkling in, you know, a little team builder here or there to get kids opening up, because research shows you're going to have way more success if kids feel psychologically safe. They feel connected. You're going to get more out of them. And, you know, so, you know, I always made sure we had about a half hour for health. The other thing is, you know, I don't know how your schools feel about this, but you know what, like on a Friday, if you end 7 minutes early, you know, surprise the kids. And you know, we're allowed to do it. You know, where if for 7 minutes early, I'm not going to keep them. All right, guys, you know what? We're 7 minutes early. You know, everyone go get a mental health break. Go to the fridge, get something to eat, get fresh air, check your cell phone. Just have yourself an amazing weekend and use these 7 minutes for you. And they're like, really? And, you know, all right, goodbye, Mr. Friedrich. You know, and you would never do that in a regular class. In the regular world, you would never let your kids go 7 minutes early down the hallway. Just would not happen, you know, but, you know, every now and then, I remember one day I knew the girl was struggling at home and she mentioned it was her birthday. And I had every kid, you know, hey, it's Todd's birthday today. Everyone right now in the chat, I want you to write a sincere birthday card to Todd. Boom, the chat just blew up. She got 35 birthday messages and you can just see the smile on her screen. You know, I've had kids, I mean, we are an affluent, definitely, you know, upper class district. So I've had kids take family trips to Aruba, Mexico, and they're checking in from the hotel in South Beach. They're on a balcony. It looks like Todd's view right now, but it's actually a real backdrop.
Hey, mine's real.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a real picture.
And you know, you ask them about it. Okay, where are you? Okay. So one day we had the kids vote on what do you want? The kid's name was, let's say, Johnny. All right, what do you want Johnny doing? Do you want him jumping in the pool or jumping in the ocean? All right, cameras on for jumping in the pool, cameras off for jumping in the ocean. All cameras go off. I said, Johnny, you got to go right now and jump in the ocean, come back to our meet. The kid ran down, jumped in the ocean, came back soaking wet, sitting on his balcony. You know, you have to make it a little more fun. You have to make it a little more different and give the kids a reason to want to come back to your class. You know, if it's just all business, no play, they're gonna get worn out. Because I tell you, I don't know about you, Todd, but I'm getting a lot of that's how the academic teachers are. You know, the academic teachers, there's no connection. It's all content because they're feeling like they have to prepare the kids for APs and everything else.
They're trying to jam content in. And I just heard today, like, we have our Wednesdays, tomorrow's an async day, so the kids don't have to come to school and we don't have to go to school. And the kids are like, Mr. Bedard, we're so thankful you don't give us async work, because that day they're just jamming stuff in, like piling it on. And I was like, so give me an idea. And they're like, well, like 1 hour per class. So if they have 5 and 6 hours of homework, that's just ridiculous.
I see it with my own children in my house.
You know, and that's, to me, that's not helping kids. To me, like I mean, just give up. Like, I don't want to say give up on the kids, but just give up the idea that I'm going to get it all in. It's just not. It's not happening.
Nope.
So what else are you feeling? What else you want to know about? Any questions?
Hey, Todd, real quick. John emailed me, Alex emailed me, and Liz emailed me.
Okay.
So Steven and like Heather, like I could totally send you guys a folder with like activities that you could just totally look at yourself. So definitely take me up on that offer.
Yep.
Check the chat for my email. All right. And like Craig, I'm looking at. So definitely anyone who did not send me an email, send it to me, because it may help, you know, and it may turn your kids into like, you know, chatty Cathy's here. So.
And I don't have the fancy folder, but I put my email and phone number in there. If you want to text, you're certainly welcome to ask questions. I'm pretty good with technology and certainly can guide you towards the things that you may want to know, because, you know, I don't know everything, but I know how to find it. So, but yeah, that the big thing here, honestly, is just the empathetic approach. I mean, just understand and approach it from the standpoint of nobody that's doing anything wrong is doing it to piss you off. They're doing it because they're struggling. If they're late, it's because they're struggling. If they're not in school, it's because they're struggling. Probably if they're not turning things in, it's because they can't keep their days straight, because they're only in school 2 days a week and they don't know what day it is. And you know, and most of the teenagers, I don't know what your teenagers are like, but Mark, but most of my students have reversed night and day from way back in March. So they were staying up all night on their phones and gaming and going to bed at 6 a.m.
Yes.
My own children were doing that because I'd be getting up at 6 and they're like, "Good night, Dad." I'm like, wait, what? So
no, I hear you. Yeah, last March, April, and May, and June, same here with me though. Like I was staying up till 1 o'clock watching cornhole on ESPN. You know, you all know you saw it. You all watched it. You know, and you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But when you didn't have live instruction at all, we didn't have any live instruction at all last spring. That's what you do. You know. So.
So here's a question. I'll throw it out there, and then Mark, you and I can each take a shot at it. And if somebody else wants to jump in, you can. So let's see. Alex asked, his only question is, how do you reach those students that simply do not care or do not have the home support from the parents or guardians without burning yourself out or having student completely rely on you? So how do you reach those kids that don't have support from their parents?
Hey, Todd, are we supposed to be jumping back out now?
Yeah, I guess we got 40 seconds, but I will tell you that I've never met a parent that didn't love their child, even the ones that don't support them. And just making those phone calls, sometimes, you know, you might not see a lot of results, but you know you got to the family somehow. That's my quick answer to that.
Yeah, I would concur with that also. And the other thing is, you know, that I know in my community, my kids usually set up somewhere near their parents, so the parents are always listening. So definitely be on your A game and be very human about things, because the parents do appreciate it.
Yep. All right.
So we could kind of wrap up for the evening. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and joining us tonight. And then thank you so much to all our presenters who I was in all the different rooms and everybody just did an amazing job. So we really appreciate all of you taking your time to come. And then obviously all of our presenters taking their time to lend us their expertise. I'm constantly in awe and have the greatest respect for everyone here and all our presenters as well. So just to give you an idea of what's next, anybody who presented today was recording, and any information that they had, or at least a couple different things, everybody sent me. So what I'll do is we'll send that out to all the people who attended today, and anybody else who registered. You'll get some helpful links, some of their slides. If they want to give their presentations, they can do that too. So we'll definitely leave you with some parting gifts. Just one thing that I ask, please check in the chat for the feedback. We definitely would love to hear from everybody. Just want to know how we did. Was what we offered quality? Is there anything else you'd like to see from us? Just any feedback would be helpful in planning for future events. So,
hey, Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew, I think Pennsylvania can get all cameras on for a big group photo here. So, you know, let's do this before we leave.
Yeah.
I'll take a screenshot.
Sure.
All right. Let's see. Can we get all cameras on, PA? Let's do this.
All cameras on.
Oh, we're almost there. Okay, thumbs up are good. I like it, Brian. I like it. All right, we got a couple more. All cameras on. Come on, Ruth. You can do it, Ruth. Come on, Ruthie. I'm gonna give Ruth 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everyone look at your screens and smile. All right, we got it. We got it.
Nice.
I'll get that to you, Andrew, for your association.
I love it. Thank you so much. Mark is our only Jersey guy here, but you know, it's all good.
But I see Nick Klein's in the house. He's not from PA.
No, you're right. No, New York. I'm sorry. My bad, Nick. My bad, Nick.
Wait, he's honorary though. Nick fits in anywhere he goes.
Yes. Nick is a great guy to get in touch with if you need equipment, by the way. Nick is
whatever you need.
Nick is the guy for equipment. Whatever you need, he's got it all. He's got all the hookups. Please get in touch with Nick Klein.
Love you guys.
So other than that, I was about to say, other than that, boys and girls, I'm so used to saying that, but thank you all for coming. Please fill out the form before you go. Have a great night.
Stay safe, everyone.
I say to my students.
Be well.
The awkward silence as everybody's leaving.
At the risk.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. That concludes our presentation. Please follow us on social media. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're trying to do this more consistently so that we can offer different PDs for obviously Philadelphia, but we also plan to offer PDs for people outside of the area. We look forward to focusing more on teaching in an urban context for the 2021-2022 school year. So we look forward to hearing from you, and stay safe and be well.